Okay. Lori, I'm so happy you're here in the
Oh, so
space in between.
I am so excited to be here.
I know. We've had a good amount of conversation in the last few months.
Mhm.
But it's all been just like getting right down into like what the vision is and what our businesses are and supporting. And today I'm really excited because I want to get to hear a little bit more about just your journey and explore that and introduce you to the space in between world. But yeah, do you just want to kind of let people know who you are, where you are in the world, and what's happening, whatever that means for you?
Oh, okay. Well,
Is
that's a
it?
big question. I mean,
I
how much time do
know.
we have now?
It is. That's
Well,
why I
my name,
start there, just to state how people interpret who are you. I love it.
yeah, well, my name is Lori Konkler, and I am lots of things. But I would say I'm an integrative success mentor and consultant. I work with business owners and what I like to say high capacity humans across the globe to really help them maximize their lives, their businesses, and integrate all of those things together so that they have success that is aligned and sustainable for them in all areas of their work and life. So that's the business side of me. I'm currently located in Wisconsin in the US, but I like to say I'm a citizen of the world, hence why I'm so drawn to the nOMad Collective, probably. But yeah, no, I spent many years living in the Caribbean with my husband. We still do some business stuff down there. And yeah, no, I just like to take those opportunities to travel whenever I can, immerse myself in the world, the culture, hosting retreats and attending amazing retreats at the same time. So,
Mm. Okay, yeah. I know it's like the lamest question to say, who are you and where? I don't say where are you from because I hate that question so much. But it's interesting because people will go right into their business or they'll, identify as something else like, oh, I'm a mother, whatever it is. So
right.
I just like to kind of keep it open-ended. But so when you were talking about the word that really like shined for me was this idea of working with high capacity individuals. And I
Mhm.
don't know, I wasn't expecting it, but I would love to hear what that means for you.
Yeah, well, I think a lot of people say like high achievers or,
Yeah.
whatever. And I don't really like that term because I think
Mm-hmm.
high capacity, because some people don't see themselves as a high achiever, for
Mm-hmm.
instance, because maybe they haven't actually achieved the thing that they want yet. And but high capacity is really those people that have those big visions, those big that want to have a big impact on the world. They want to live lives that mean something. They want to do things that mean something and they want to just enjoy the I didn't know I'm swearing aloud here, but
Yeah.
enjoying enjoying the fuck out
Yes.
of their lives, while also doing the work that's meaningful that they love and getting paid really well for it. So kind of
Mhm.
like those people like us, right? That it's like you
Mhm.
don't have to just have a business. You don't just have to, have a good marriage. You don't just have to be a mom. I'm not a mom, but you don't just have to be the one thing. The people that
Mhm.
really know that there's so much more available to them, and
Mhm.
who want to be a part of creating a new paradigm, a new way of doing things in this world. So.
Okay, I was getting like full body chills when you were just talking. Like, yeah, I like this. I love that idea. I never thought of it as like high achiever versus this idea of high capacity, but I think I definitely resonate more with that because yeah, I want to achieve things, but I'm also like, yeah, I also am very clear. Like I was that person in yoga where, yeah, I could do the things that were,
Mhm.
acrobatic, but there was sometimes I'm like, it's not necessary.
Yeah,
Like, does that make
exactly.
me not a high achiever? I just was like, yeah, this is not necessary for my body right now. And I have other things I want to achieve, right? So I love this
Yeah,
idea of the
yeah.
capacity. And so what does that look like with when you're working with people, when you're talking about this capacity and you were talking about the different roles that they play and the what I'm feeling when you were saying was like the abundance in all of those roles and being
Yeah.
able to live, like you said, fully, like fully embrace it.
Yeah. So, sorry, what was the question?
Just like how do, yeah, what is high capacity? Like, how do you get people to move into that high capacity state in all of the roles that they play? Like, what does that feel
Yeah,
like?
well, I mean, pretty much everything that I do brings people through my process, whether it's, in a one-off session with them, my retreats, or if we're working together long term and, same thing, whether it's my corporate people or, my smaller business owners that I'm working with. And that's what I call my paradigm shift method. But it's really like raising the awareness around what they want. And where they are and those gaps in between, and not gaps from the perspective of like you're not achieving things, but like why don't you already have this life that you want, and the business you want, why don't you have success across the board? And then we do the work to create the identity within them so that they actually see themselves in that lens of it all being possible. Because I think so many of us are taught like, okay, if you want to have kids and a family or whatever, like you're a mom, that's your priority. That's the only thing that you can do. Or if you want to be a good wife, like you need to concentrate on that. Or if you want to be, business owner, that needs to be your priority and you need to be working 60 hours a week, but that's not actually the thing. So it's really helping them to embody that identity of I'm the person who gets to have it all. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
and to do it in a way that actually really works for me and that I can sustain. So, like I said, we do the identity shifting, and then we really anchor that into to the body. Because I think so many people, it's like they learn, okay, yeah, this is what I need to do, and if I just do this, this, and this, I can have it all. But then they
Mm-hmm.
burn themselves out. They end up miserable. They end up divorced. They end up, with all of these things. But the thing is, you can actually create this across all areas of your life and your work. And I like to say at the same time, it's, for some people we do it in steps. For some people we take it all because in my world, a lot of times it's the same root patterns, the same root causes beneath, the same symptoms,
Mm-hmm.
but just showing up in different areas of their lives. And I've seen that with so many of my clients and just so many people, even like very, highly successful people that are out there that I witness that I have not even worked with, where it seems like, okay, I'm making millions, and all of a sudden, like, and no shade to this, but like you see them blow up, like their weight or whatever, or their business is really thriving, and then they get really sick, or their marriage falls apart because they don't feel seen, supported, they don't feel like that jives anymore. So really what we do is help them to become the version of them that can hold it all.
Mm. So, how did you get to this holding this space and helping people through that transformation? Like, what's part of your journey?
Well, a little over 10 years ago. I mean, it really started more like 11 years ago, but a little over 10 years ago, my husband and I moved to the Virgin Islands. We moved with friends. Um, we had gone on this long vacation. I had unexpectedly gotten a lot of money, and that's where it started 11 years ago. And so we went on this dream trip, month long, to New Zealand, Fiji. And that's when I first actually like read about the concept. I got this ebook about becoming a digital nomad, and like I got this idea in my head of a different way of doing life. And we came back from this vacation. I bought that to read on vacation or whatever. We came back, and it was just like the stark difference of this version of me that felt free and like I was really myself, and then coming
Mhm.
back to this corporate world where I wasn't necessarily unhappy. I had the corner office, I had a lot of success, I had, teams. I had everything that I had thought I wanted at some point in my
Mm,
life, and it was just like, no, I don't want to do that anymore. And at the time, I didn't necessarily recognize all of the things that I do now.
mhm.
So I thought moving to the Caribbean was going to just like change everything. Well, it did,
Okay.
and it didn't. It didn't because it just was the first step in like all of the things that needed to boil up underneath the surface for me to realize like moving isn't going to just change your life, right?
Mhm.
And then the money stuff started coming up, health stuff started coming up, and those were very much intertwined. We ended up leaving the Virgin Islands, moving back, leaving, like we did this like back and forth. Things boiled up in my relationship, but that I had to face. And there's just so many things that happened in the last, several years. And I would say, that made me recognize every time I seemed to be fixing one thing, something else was breaking.
Mm,
And it took me until probably like maybe 4 years ago to recognize like you're just repeating the same stuff over and
mm,
over, and you're fixing things in the different areas of your life. And maybe if you're looking at it all at the same time, you'll actually fix it, right? Which I won't get too deep into it. I've had this idea, about this like integrative way of doing things in my business for other people for years. But it took me until, like I said, about 4, maybe 5 years ago to start realizing, oh, wait, you need to actually be doing that in your own life, not just trying to sell it to other people.
mm.
And
Gotta practice what you teach, girl.
yeah, like, it was like at some point, like I realized, oh, actually, you know what? You think you have it all together just because you've had all these great things, but
Mm,
you do. Like, don't get me wrong, like I have an amazing life and I have for a long time, and I'm very, proud of what I've built, but it made me realize like, oh, I was teaching a lot of these things that I wasn't fully, embodying myself, and that was the real shift. And that really started to bring me to where I am now, where I would say, honestly, like, is life perfect? No, no, life is never going to be perfect, but it's perfect for me where I am right now. And I love my life. It's amazing. So, yeah.
mm. The quote that I heard, like while you were speaking about like moving and coming back and moving, was wherever you go, there you are.
Yes.
Yeah.
You can't escape yourself.
Yeah, and it's so interesting because you had this like seemingly perfect life before you went on this beautiful,
Mhm.
journey. You had your eat, pray, love kind of journey, but with your
Yep.
husband by your side, it sounds like. It's like, ooh, let's do this all the time. And then, yeah, the real life shit came out, and just like I could just see it as like this detox for you.
Oh, yeah. When we first moved to the Virgin Islands, it's kind of funny. Like, all of our friends, that moved, and I I don't know what else to call us other than transplants or expats because it's a
Yeah,
U.S. territory and we're U.S. citizens, so we're
right.
not
It still has
technically
that energy.
expats,
Yeah,
but
it
it
definitely
feels like
feels like.
another country. But all of our friends that had also moved, they're just like, we all like you get tested when you move to the island. The island tests you, and it's kind of interesting because you see that like in business, you see it like when you're like really going after the
Mhm.
things that you want, right? And it's going to test you. But I remember some of our friends being like, I was tested my first year here. And we see people go through this all the time. And if people can't, hack it, they leave or whatever. Like,
Mhm.
but I have never seen people get tested the way that you guys have. I mean, like just so many problems that came up with landlords, with when we moved with friends and we rented a house with them, and they ended up leaving, and there was a whole bunch of drama there, and just all of the things that health issues, money stuff, like just all of the things that happened to us while we were there in that first year that we did overcome a lot. It was just insane. But yeah, it's wherever
Oh
you
my
go,
God.
there you are
There
because you
you
can't
are.
escape it. The place was great, and everyone from the
Yeah.
outside's like, "Oh my God, I can't believe that you moved to the Caribbean. I'm so jealous. I wish I could do what you did." And you're like, you're not seeing the fact that like we have a cockroach infestation in our kitchen right now, or that our pipes burst on Christmas Day and we're having to like piss outside. Like, just like the random stuff that's happening. But yes, we're in paradise.
Oh my God. Yeah. I lived in Costa Rica for a little while. And yeah, everybody was like, I'm so jealous. But it was right after my dad died and I went through a divorce. And everyone's like, this is amazing. You're in paradise. I was like, paradise is not paradise, guys. Because the same thing, I feel like it really does test you. I had an experience like Costa Rica just like held me the first few months, like, oh, this is such
Mhm.
a gentle place. And then I thought, I'm moving here. And as soon as I moved there, it spit me out. Like all my relationships there, all of like my job opportunity, like it all just was like crashed and burned. I was like, okay. So I totally resonate with that. And then the other thing I thought of when you were saying that is I lived in New York City, and that was my dream to become a dancer and move to the city. And I was there for 11 years, and I really saw like that first year, it was like what you guys experienced, like it's going to test you. And not a lot of people make it a year. But once you get it through a year, it's like, oh, okay. And then it's like the 5 year mark. And that's where you usually see a mass exodus of people. And then it's the 10 or 15 year mark. And then I think when you get to 15, it's like you're a lifer. So I didn't quite get there, but it was totally fine with that. But it's interesting, these places. I don't know. I don't know if it's every place, but I definitely think that these kind of like dream paradisey places that we think, we're achieving to accomplish. And then it's not what it cracks up to be.
Yeah, and the thing is they are, you go there on vacation, you go to New York for a week, you go to the Caribbean for a week, it's great. But like
Right.
you said, when you decide I'm gonna move there, it's like,
Yes.
well, actually, oh honey, no.
Exactly. Oh no, 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 no. You wait. Yep. Mm-hmm. Oh my gosh, I love that. Okay, so I'm going to shift this a little bit because I have so many questions around this topic. I'm curious to know because I know I don't know if you claim to be a human design expert, but in my eyes you are because you know a lot more than I do. But I saw a post recently, like you were saying, I'm not an expert because I haven't, but anyways, I think you're an expert.
Well, thanks.
Um, how did you get to human design? And if people don't know what that is, can you kind of give a short definition of what that is?
Yeah, well, I personally say, I like to take human design and compare it to things like the Enneagram, Myers-Briggs, the
Hmm.
DISC profile, because those are a lot more recognizable to people, especially anybody
Hmm.
who's been like in a business world,
Yeah.
those personality, behavioral, like profiling type things. And I like to compare it to those because those are all based on an algorithm of you answer a question, you get a certain profile of who you are. Human
Yeah.
design is based on who you are when you're born.
Hmm.
So it's nature's algorithm, as I like to say it, who you were designed to be before you ever even stepped foot, or, I guess we're not standing on our feet when we're born, but you know what I mean, before you ever entered this world. And, before you ever were exposed to conditioning, because
Hmm.
all of those things that you answer questions, it comes from your conditioned mind, that whatever point you're at in your life, you could answer those questions very differently. And I've actually, like in the corporate world, had staff members take tests multiple times, like, I don't really feel like that fits me, and then they take it
Hmm.
in a different environment, and then they are a completely different person,
Hmm.
right? You can't do that with human design. You can't,
Yeah.
it's who you are. And how I got into it, honestly, was probably 5-ish years ago. Astrology was something that I was very interested in, intrigued by, and had studied a little bit before then. And part of human design is based on astrology, right? Because it's the your birth chart, your birth info. But I was in a program with somebody else who was a human design coach and expert. I'm like, oh, well, that sounds really interesting. What is that all about? And as I started to dig in, like to my own, like it just started with me, with my own profile, and I'm like, I resonate so deeply with these
Hmm.
things. Um, and I do also utilize things like gene keys, which was founded by someone who studied, human design.
Richard Rudd, yeah.
Yeah, and I like to layer in all of these things, but so I started getting into that, and I started looking at these different things and realizing, like, this is like a success map to the integrated aligned success, like the whole concept of everything that I believed and thought. Like, this is the map, right, that really helps
Mm.
people to know themselves. And I don't consider myself an expert because I haven't been fully embodied in my own design for the 7 years that
Hmm.
whoever they is, the experts,
Hmm.
the founder recommends, because it takes 7 years, and I don't really remember the reasoning behind that, to be honest. I have read it, to really fully embody that yourself, because it's your deconditioning journey. You're deconditioning against everything that
Hmm.
you experienced your whole life, from the time you were like in the womb to where you are now in your life. And that's, a pretty significant journey. So I'm glad that you see me as the expert. And I do feel like, yes, I'm very, like, I've gone very deep in my studies of these things.
Hmm.
But I'm still a student, and actually, I read a comment that you did on a comment that I did. I haven't had a chance to comment back yet, where you said, like, you said the same thing, right? Like, with your yoga, like, I feel like I'm always learning and I'm always a
Hmm.
student. Um, so it's interesting. Yeah, like, other people do probably see me as that expert, but I just think that it's I'm a guide, I would say, more than
Yeah.
anything when it comes to that, because I'm constantly learning and evolving in my own studies in this, and I just love imparting that wisdom on other people because it really helps them to connect with themselves and their way of doing things and their energetic blueprint. And it impacts all of areas of our lives, but especially I love using this with people in business and relationships, which your business is also a relationship. It's just your
Hmm.
relationship to your business rather than a
Yes.
human. Um, and helping them to understand the way that they're here to exist, the way that they're here to work, to make decisions, to guide other people according to their energy. Because, I mean, you and I have we have a lot of similarities, but we have very different energetic blueprints in the way that we do
Hmm.
things. I'm a manifesting generator, so I'm like the Energizer Bunny, and I have this like endless renewable energy because I have that defined sacral center, which is
Hmm.
that life force energy, versus, someone like yourself who's a non-sacral type, a projector,
Hmm.
and you don't have that renewable energy. So, and the world isn't designed for projectors, right? It really isn't. It's designed for the 70% of us who are generators or manifesting generators. And I think it's so fascinating when people actually start applying these things to themselves, to their lives, to their businesses, how it can shift their whole world and like help them avoid burnout and like going down these, paths that they've taken in the past, thinking that they have to do things according to society's expectations, aka generator expectations. And even
Yeah.
generators, you don't have to do it anyone else's way. It's your way.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just fascinating.
It is. Oh my God, you said so many things. I'm going to try to retrack, like go back. So one, I'm curious, because I don't know if this is the answer, but I was just thinking the 7 years. Is it because like the theory is that it takes 7 years for all of your cells to renew? Is that
That might
maybe
have
it?
been
It's
it.
like
And like,
it's
I
like you're
don't, whenever
fully
I read it, I
embodying
was like,
it.
yeah, it was like
Like
years
maybe
ago
it's
that I read this thing, but that makes
yeah, yeah,
sense.
that makes sense. Like yeah, for you to literally embody it, like all your cells have to transition into this new blueprint in a sense of, or like embodying this new version of
Yeah,
you.
yeah.
Yeah,
And it's funny. And it's like we say new, but it's actually like you have to like renew yourself into that. It's like a
yeah.
remembrance and a rebirth into
Hmm.
like your actual self, because you've always
Yeah.
been this version of you. You just it's buried beneath the layers of conditioning.
Well, yeah, I mean, and then it goes to the next point that I had was like, you weren't the first person. I knew I was a projector and I
Mhm.
had done a couple of different sessions and read about it too. But when I read it, I so was like, oh my God, I'm not lazy because I don't have as much energy, but I look at like people out there going, but they're doing it. Like as a dancer, you're expected to go in college to like at least 10 classes a week and auditions and rehearse. And then you go to the city and then it's like double all of that. And I was doing things to a certain extent, but I was like, I never could feel like I had my cup filled, but I would watch every people like they'd go out dancing at 2 a.m. after that and they'd get up and I'm like, what the hell, you guys? Like, no. So I was just really grateful to have that, like giving me that permission slip, like, okay, that makes sense. Um, and then there was something else that you were speaking to. Oh, this idea of expert and guide. I love what you just said because we had Greg on a couple weeks ago and we were having this whole conversation around expert versus guide. And I think I mean, that's why we call it the Sage Guides at
Yeah.
nOMad because I feel the same way of you. Like I've been teaching and practicing yoga for over 20 years, and there's still so much that I'm learning, just that in itself. Like if you look at the physical practice, the anatomy, the sequencing, creating the energetic space as well as the philosophy. It's like and then the business, like there's so many layers.
Yeah.
And I think that it's really important for us to, yeah, like receive that okay, I have a certain amount of knowledge and I can guide people through it, but also I'm a student. And I love that you said that because I think something, I don't know what it was. I don't know if it was the pandemic or what, because we're all online and it's just so loud. And maybe you have some insight on this, but I feel like all of a sudden, like people just like get like this, I think it's the best of intentions, a spiritual awakening or something. I'm just going
Mhm.
to kind of speak to our industry, our
Yeah,
world of transformation, because I'm sure it's happening all in other like other areas of the world. But it's like they just had this like awakening and they want to help other people, but then they go to a weekend, workshop and it's like, oh my God, I'm trained and I'm going to, host a retreat. And it's like, but you've never even held space for anybody else other than yourself. And you're barely
Mhm.
doing that. Not to disrespect them, but it's like,
It's
yeah. And then they're teaching you how to do it, like and make a lot of money doing it. I'm like, oh my goodness.
Yeah, it's kind of insane. And it's not just that world either. I
Oh
that
yeah.
actually reminded me though of an example of this was, I don't know, probably 4 or 5 years ago. And I was having this conversation with someone. I think it was a podcast interview. I was interviewing them for my podcast at the time. And she was a Pinterest coach or consultant or something. It has something to do with
Okay.
Pinterest. Like, asking, oh, that's, interesting because I talk to a lot of like social media people that are focused on, like the big platforms for business, and I don't know a lot of people that do Pinterest specifically. So I was asking her questions like, how'd you get into this? And she said, oh, well, my coach had a course and I didn't really know what to do for my business. So she gave me this course and told me that I should become a Pinterest strategist. So she took a course and then because her coach told her to, and then that's what she did. I'm like,
Okay.
heck.
Yeah. Ick.
But so it's again like, okay, I don't know if I want to publish this episode about you being this Pinterest
Right.
expert now because I'm like,
Oof.
that just doesn't speak to me in terms of like,
Right.
I did this thing. I loved it. I, saw how impactful it was and I wanted to give it back, or I spent years studying it or whatever. So yeah, it's happening all over. And yeah, human design. I think what triggered
Yeah.
that conversation was I saw that post or ad about, get certified to be a human design expert coach in 28 days. And I'm just like, oh no. Oh
Oh,
no.
yeah. I know I cringe when I will be guilty of it. I mean, I had a studio that hired me for a 30-day, 200-hour yoga teacher training program and she cranked them out and I did it. I mean, it was good money for me and I did the best I could, but like I even told them like this is just the beginning. Like the honeymoon is over because a lot of times people get on the yoga mat, they're like, "Oh, it's so blissful. Yeah, I want to teach other people." And then I'm like, "The honeymoon's over, day one. Like this is where you get to like sleep with it and wake up with it with morning breath. Like it sucks." If you want the honeymoon to keep going, then you can leave this trading. But also after 30 days, like you've got to keep going. Like this is not just you've got a piece of paper and you lead your own yoga teacher training. Like you've got to keep doing the svadhyaya, the self-study. Anyways, yeah, and I agree with you. I think it definitely has been here this whole time. I think it's just the pandemic. We got more online and social media, and it just seems
I
louder and more in your face.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I think everybody, lots of people lost their jobs. Lots of people,
Mm.
even if they were working from home, like, oh, I want to do this different thing. And oh,
Hmm.
here's this certification. I can become an expert. I can become, I love the ones too, where it's I can become a business coach, even though I have no business experience. If I just take this course on how to tell people to send DMs and like do cold lead generation, I'm a business coach. Yeah. Because they saw it like as a money-making opportunity rather
Yeah.
than like a really embodied thing that like yes, they want to help people, but they want to help themselves. I mean, we all do, right? We
Mhm.
want to help ourselves. But it's you can't be doing this type of work just solely for the money. The money comes
Right.
as a result of you being embodied in the work and like being focused on the service of it rather than the dollar signs. Like it does come when you are doing that. When you're
Yeah.
aligned, you attract the money, but when you're like, oh, I have to make this fit so I can make money and help people, it's not going to work.
Yeah, I so feel that. And I see that all the time. I mean, I did get into, I always tell people that's the other thing I tell people at tradies, like, you're not getting, like, don't get into this for the money. Like it can come, like you said, but
Yeah.
it's just like moving to the Virgin Islands, like you said, like it will be this romantic thing for a minute, like, oh, yay, I'm gonna make a lot of money and I'm gonna serve a lot of people and make an impact. But then it's gonna test you. And actually, we're reading The Alchemist. I don't know if you're following along about that, but we're at the point where the king tells them the whole universe conspires to, once you know what you want. But
Mhm.
also at the same time, there's so many trials and tribulations that happen. And that's where it's like, is this your burning desire, right?
Yeah. Yes. Speaking of trials and tribulations, that
Yeah.
is basically the theme of my life and my human design.
Mhm.
I am a 1-3 profile, so that's all about a life of trial and error. So, yeah, I am talking about like I was probably one of those people. It's like, yeah, I mean, I had lots of business experience. I'm like, but I can go be a business coach. I can go do this. And I had a mentor who told me, well, you have all this business experience. You should be a business coach. I'm like, okay, I guess that tracks, that fits. So I get it. I mean, I've learned through
Yeah.
my own trial and error and making lots of mistakes myself too.
Oh, me too. Yeah. And
Yeah.
you've told me in my profile, like I'm in that, I had a trial and error phase, and I think I'm shifting out of it
Yeah, you're six
soon.
two. Yeah.
Ooh, so fine. I'm so happy about that. But yeah, it's so funny because I'm always like the kicking and screaming. I get the invitation. My teacher told me, I studied with her for a year of yoga, and she's like, okay, now you got to go do your certification. And I was like, no, this is for me. And same thing with like the kind of shifting into the business piece was I just kept seeing the business model in the yoga and the healing arts of just not being a sustainable business. And I did not want to be that person to kind of help people. But yeah, universe definitely invited me. I was like, oh, okay.
Okay.
But I love it now, right? Because that's what we're doing at nOMad. And that's one of the reasons why, you're inside of our community too, which I don't mind. Would you mind sharing a little bit about talk a little bit about what we're creating at nOMad?
You want me to talk about what we're creating
Well,
at
for
nOMad?
both of us. Yeah. I'm just going to shift it a little bit before we get there. But
Yeah.
yeah, where you're at with how you fit into this puzzle piece of nOMad is you have all this hospitality experience and you help properties. So can you share a little bit about that first before we go there?
Yeah. In
Yeah.
my past life, I mean, my whole career was basically in the hospitality and tourism space. I went to school for hospitality and tourism management. I went into working with hotels, tourism entities. I did, had a consulting business for several years where I was consulting with um, lots of businesses in the hospitality space, but small hotels, campground resorts, etc. And then when I started my own business, I kind of like, nope, I don't want anything to necessarily do with that industry anymore because I'm sick of planning other people's vacations and amazing lives. I want to go live my own.
Yes.
Like, screw that. But then what did I do? I went to the Virgin Islands and started a business in the hospitality space, planning events. Uh,
Oh my gosh.
so it
Wait,
just,
how did that happen? Wait, how did that happen? So you moved there and then you were like, well, I know I'm good at this, so I'll do this. Like what
I
happened?
actually started it before we moved. When we
Oh,
made the
okay.
decision to move, I started the website, started, like reaching out to people. But it's like, yeah, so I've been a director of sales and catering, director of sales and marketing, and, in all of those different aspects in the hospitality, like hotel industry, events falls under those
Yeah.
things. So, especially when I was doing the catering stuff, I was planning events, and then as the director of sales and marketing for a conference center, I was helping to sell and plan with weddings and other, events and corporate retreats. Um, so I'm like, I do this. I could do this in my sleep. I've done it. So, and I'm moving to an island, so maybe I could like do like destination events or weddings or whatever. because I don't have a job and I want to make money and I knew that I wanted something for myself. So it's just like, okay, it
Yeah.
started with just building a website, which I still actually do plan those events now, people, but I don't actively like try to pursue it.
Yeah.
It's just the website. So it just came as a like I need to make money to support
Yeah.
myself. And this is where my expertise is. And I didn't want to do the same kind of consulting because I had been doing hospitality consulting for 6 years before we made that move as well. So it just kind of was a natural thing and evolved into, of course, also hosting my own events and retreats and the coaching and, just kind of package that all together. Um, I spent, like I said, many, probably 15, 20 years in the hotel and hospitality space working with people, helping them to sell, and market their properties. And really, like, I had both in the consulting space and in my own like corporate career come in and help to turn around, multiple properties in terms of their sales, their marketing, their operations. So, hence, nOMad. Like I said, I came in and I work primarily, in my coaching and consulting. Now I do some consulting, still in the hospitality space and coaching with business owners. And I just realized, like, as I got more into the retreat space specifically, like, okay, maybe I actually don't hate the industry, but I just don't want to work with, no offense, no shade, Marriott or Hilton's. I don't want to work with the Marriotts and the Hiltons of the world anymore.
Hmm.
When it comes to that work, I want to work with the business owners, the small business owners, the small property owners that not only just want to put heads in beds, but who actually want to make an impact with their properties. And, when we moved to the Virgin Islands, that was one of the pipe dreams as well, is that I would have my own small property and like do that. I don't know that I want to own a property there anymore, but
Get it?
I love consulting with, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. But I love consulting with these properties and supporting them, to grow their businesses, to grow their dreams, to align, their clientele to the vision that they have to be able to make money in these properties so that they don't burn themselves out. It's the same, it's very parallel to whatever other businesses that I'm working at, but like also to help them bring more retreats into the world. Because I think I've told
Hmm.
you, I have this idea that I think retreats are the clinics of the new world
Hmm.
because it's not just like a nice to have, go take a frou-frou vacation,
Right.
but it's literally like an opportunity to come back to yourself, to heal so many different things that traditionally, and especially in my world and my family, like we're taught you have to go to Western medicine. You need to take a pill for that. You need to
Hmm.
go get therapy for that. And therapy is, obviously part of the more holistic approach, but you need to do this, you need to do that. When actually, like sometimes you have the power to heal yourself. And if
Hmm.
you put yourself in the right environments, that becomes a lot easier. So, with nOMad, I'm really excited to be able to bring some of that expertise in to support the properties that are part of the collective and to make them, to help them become even better for the, groups that they're going to bring in to help them become sustainable so that they don't, burn themselves out in the process and end up having to have everything on their own shoulders, as well as just helping them to, yeah, be financially sustainable and successful.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, and it's funny to just full circle. Our love story started with St. Croix because I was
Yeah.
hosting a retreat at one of our featured properties, Featherleaf Inn, and I was promoting it. And you were like, wait, St. Croix? What? And then we just started talking because you're like, I used to live there. And that I just love that to bring it full circle. But yeah, and what I was also saying to you when you and I were starting to talk, I knew there was some sort of connection here and was like, I don't know what this looks like, but it's not just you coming on my retreat or coming into this community, but really when I look at when we started working with properties in 2015, all the properties that I first started on my list, they're either closed or they've changed ownerships.
Mhm.
And when you step in and you bring this experience, I mean, what we were doing before was at nOMad with our properties was I was acting as a bridge, right? Like bringing the retreat leaders to the retreats themselves. But I love this extra layer that we're bringing in with your expertise of helping them make it more sustainable, right? So that we can come back, we can be that bridge, but we can continue to come back. And I've always had this vision for nOMad. I'm like you. I like when I was married years and years ago, I always wanted to have a retreat space myself. And he
Mhm.
was not it. He was like, no, I don't want to be the janitor. But that's fine. There were so many other things wrong in that relationship. But now I'm with you. I'm like, no, I don't necessarily want to own them, but I want to have a lot of nOMad properties that feel like our home that we can just continuously come back to and feel like, yeah, that's my property, but not really.
Yeah, exactly. It's like you feel like you're at home without having to be the one
I
doing all of the
know.
things. Yeah.
Yeah. But we're helping them be there as our home and make them more sustainable with your expertise and with our community. So,
Yeah.
yeah, it's so excited. So excited.
Me too.
Is there anything else that you want to touch on that we didn't get to today yet?
Um, I don't know. I mean, I'm an open book, so I'm happy to answer anything, but I feel like we've touched on a lot of things, yeah.
Yeah, we danced around in the in-between.
Yeah, 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 absolutely. Yeah. I'm really excited to be here, to be a part of nOMad. Just to ingrain my or like become more ingrained in the retreat world, both from the property side of things, the nOMad, the collective side of things, because I've been hosting my own, but it's kind of like this thing out here, and I mean I host it
Hmm.
mostly for people who are in other containers with me often, but to bring that all together and just like see this coming together so beautifully, and like we have so many shared visions,
Hmm.
like yeah, just I
I
can't wait for
know.
this next phase.
Me too. And it's so funny. Yeah, to just touch back on another, yeah, where we were talking about earlier about like how things have gotten louder. It's so funny because I think you had a vi similar vision years ago before the pandemic, and I had this vision 13, 14 years ago. But the retreat industry was not what it was. Like it was not, I was literally the only person in my community leading retreats at
Mhm.
that point. And now it's like everyone and their mom are hosting because they
Yeah.
got their 28-day certification somewhere. And again, best of intentions, but there's also even if they're the best of healers, right?
Yeah,
Or
100%.
teachers or coaches, they're not necessarily the business owners, right? As my mentor says, like you've got to be the CEO and the artist, right? The healing artist. And we can get that training for that piece of being the healing artist or the transformational coach or guide, but there's also that layer of business. And I think we do a really good job. And having you on our team, I think it's only up leveling what we're taking our community to, right? Is giving them that space to truly be in their element, whether it's a property hold, space holder or the space holder as a guide, as a leader, um, that they can truly shine in that way and we can hold them in that way to give them the resources that they need. So I'm so happy that you're part of that.
Me too.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. Where can people continue to connect with you besides nOMad, of course?
Besides nOMad,
Yeah.
the best place is typically probably Facebook, to stay connected. It's where I show up the most in terms of just the online space. Always can, of course, message me, email me, etc. Um, but yeah, Facebook and my YouTube channel, which is something I am trying to grow. It's very
Oh, I didn't know.
itty bitty right now. It's just kind of been this place where I kind of throw things for the last few years, but now I just feel more drawn to actually develop that. So please do follow the Xennial Traveler, XENNIAL Traveler, um,
Okay.
on YouTube. At least that's what it is right now. I've been having some downloads that maybe I need to change the branding. So just search my name, YouTube, you'll find me.
Okay. Well, and we put the video up of this on YouTube too, so we'll try to tag you if you can tag on YouTube. That's not
I
my,
don't know
I'll
if you
ask,
can, but yeah.
I'll ask Raisa, but then we can have that situation there, or we'll at least have your link for it. I didn't know about that. And that's kind of like what we do too. We just put the podcast there and we haven't really done anything, but there's so many possibilities. So we'll talk more about that later
Yeah.
offline. And as I was saying, I gave you a little hint of what's coming at the end. You know, this is the space in between.
Mhm.
And I like to just ask my guests, like, what does that mean for you right now? And how are you in the space in between right now? If
I would say yes. I've been in the space in between many times, but I would say I'm there too. It's kind of, I personally think, when it comes to growth, transition, that I actually had a program earlier this year called The Edge, where you're kind of in between. It's right, like you're have done the work or whatever, right? You know what's ahead of you, but you're just kind of in this like liminal space of, okay, it's coming. I know it. So I'm very much in that space myself right now because I've gone through a big evolution the last couple of years
Mhm.
and really just my own, growth and embodiment journey. And I have so many things that are coming and like downloads of things for the next year. Um, as well as, the work with nOMad is. So it's kind of like, okay, here we are, that space in between. So that's, I mean, there's so many definitions that I could come up with. But yeah, that really I think is what it is for me is the space in between the old paradigm and the new one.
Mhm.
It's I can't think of the word, but that's the thing.
Yes. No, I feel it. I know what you're saying. I feel like I've been in the space in between for the last 13 years. But it's
Yeah.
like but it's interesting because like, oh no, this is a space in between and it sucks. And then there's like, oh no, what you're saying right now, I feel like I'm experiencing that too. And maybe there's something to the embodying the human design and also
Yeah.
like the layers of healing too. It's
Mhm.
like, oh no, you just gotta like really anchor into this new paradigm, right? Whatever it might not be human design for somebody else, whatever
Yeah.
that is, that new blueprint. It's like anchoring it in and you're starting to see the evidence, but the 3D world is not quite
It's
caught
not
up with
quite caught
it.
up yet. Yeah, because it
Yeah.
takes time. Like the thing is like you can be in your 5D space with like everything
Yeah.
shifting, happening, but it does take time for you to see the evidence of that in the 3D. And it's the kind of that like period of just, I don't want to say waiting, but almost waiting for the 3D to catch up to where you actually already are. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, wait, I have to say one more thing because I've been sitting with this and now I feel like, yeah, let's bring it in just to close that
Okay.
out because I had this in my meditation the other day. It was like the world moves fast, right? Like the 3D world is just getting faster and faster and louder, but yet it's what you were just saying, it's very slow. And what I saw myself was is not getting caught up in the speed of it all, but really anchoring in and into that meditative state and slowing down. But you're in the quantum field, right? Like when you're in
Yes.
that meditative space, you're accessing the quantum, which there's limitless possibilities
Yeah.
there. But the more that you slow down and anchor into that, then everything else speeds up. It's so
Yes.
like I can't put it into words, but you know what I'm saying. It's
I
like
know
you have
exactly
to slow
what you're
down.
saying.
Like that concept, slow is fast. I was like, oh, I so get
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, and I've heard the like this you need to slow down to speed up. Yeah.
Hmm.
And it is, it's true. And for me that has been in part my human design journey and really that alignment space
Hmm.
where the more I lean into that, it is actually slowing down, but the more I'm seeing the evidence actually starting to appear.
Right.
Because life gets to be like that. We're just not taught that. So
Yeah, you got to slow down, and it feels like the 3D world's taking such a long time, but all of a sudden it's like, whoop, nope, love it.
here it is.
I know, here it is. And then you're realizing, oh shit, I need to get a little bit clearer on that because I just manifested something real weird. You have to be more precise. Yeah.
Oh yes, I have learned. I've learned I'm really good at manifesting, sometimes like to a fault, so I have to be
Yeah,
careful with that.
exactly. Exactly. Oh my goodness, Lori, I could talk to you all day or with you all day. I don't say talk to you, but talk with you all day. Yeah. Thank you so much for being in the space
Yeah.
in between.
Thank you for having me.
Yes.